Shaquan Show.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for tuning in to the Shaquan Show, the only place where normalcy is not necessary, but flourishing within your means is. You are finally flourishing with Shaquan, and welcome back to another episode of Hey Girl, nice to meet you. Today, we are talking about how to let go of the excess and only take what's truly necessary for this next part of your journey. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, have y'all ever seen those travelers that are just breezing through the airport with their one little carry-on, or better yet, the traveler that I aspire to be, which is the traveler that's just walking through the airport with nothing but the clothes on their back? Meanwhile, you're dragging all your bags. You done already checked 2 of the bags and they're both overweight, and you're still carrying your carry-on, your personal item, your purse, sweating out your edges, sweating out your outfit, and now you're wondering if you're even going to make it to the gate on time. In the book of Badu, Erykah Badu, that is, in her song Bag Lady, she says, "You can't hurry up because you got too much stuff." And that's what life looks like when we don't pack light. But the truth is, some of us sincerely don't even know how to pack light because we've always had to carry so much stuff for so many people for so long that we just got used to it. And we just kept carrying more and more stuff despite being tired or overwhelmed and feeling undervalued and unappreciated. It just became a way of life. So we learned how to just stuff our bags and deal with it. Just make space for whatever comes our way, to include stuffing our bags with past regrets, people's opinions, our failures, our perfectionism and criticisms. And then we have the nerve to wonder why we're exhausted before we even get to our gate to even prepare to take flight. I can remember this. Well, I'm familiar with this season because I was just in it not too long ago. Actually, it was just last year when I was saying yes, literally, to everything. Every opportunity seemed like a good opportunity, every request, every responsibility. So my plate was full, my schedule was packed. And with all that I had going on through all of these great things that seemed to be happening in my life, I felt empty. Like my actual spirit felt empty. I thought carrying all of that made me responsible. But now looking back, I realized that it was really just making me resentful. So I decided that I needed to take a step back so that I could still be present and show up for myself and others authentically and organically. I learned that you can't save everything and everyone. That's called hoarding, my friend. There are just some things that just simply belong to your past and they need to stay there. Some opportunities are really just distractions. They're not a part of destiny. But when you don't know how to properly assess and discern, everything that comes your way seems like a good opportunity. And the worst time to make a decision is when you're tired and you're done and you're overwhelmed. There are even relationships that are only meant for a season, not a lifetime. Again, we talked about this last week when it comes to survivors of adverse childhood experiences. Relationships are fundamental. So for us, it's like making friends on the playground. When we make a friend, we believe that we're making a friend for life. And it's a hard pill for us to swallow when we realize that that friendship was only for a season. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you try to stuff everything into your bag, you're going to find yourself at one of 2 places. Either you're going to get stuck at security, like we talked about last week, or you're going to end up missing your flight altogether. And it's funny because isn't that what Jesus tried to teach his disciples? So in Matthew 10, he sent them out and he told them, don't take anything for your journey. Perhaps because sometimes God strips us down to just our one little carry-on so that we can learn to depend on him instead of what's in our bag. And this isn't new. Look at Abraham. from all the way back in Genesis. At that time, God hadn't changed his name to Abraham yet. He was still Abram at this point. But anyways, I say all that to say, God told Abraham to leave his country, leave his people, and his father's household, and go to the land I will show you. So in other words, follow directions and pack light. So Abraham packed up his wife and his belongings and his nephew Lot, and he embarked on a journey to a land that God was guiding him to. At first glance, taking Lot with him, it probably seemed harmless. Like, what's the big deal? I mean, he is family after all, but Lot is a part of Abraham's father's household. Yes, this is the same household that God told Abraham to leave behind. So let's back up if we need to. God said, leave your country, leave your people, and your father's household. Where does his nephew Lot belong? To his father's household. And like I said, it may not seem like a big deal, but let me put it to you like this. So when you're getting ready to catch a flight, it's pretty straightforward. Number one, you must have a ticket to get on the flight for wherever you're trying to go. Number two, the airline gives very clear instructions and guidelines for your luggage. You're allowed to check bags. Each bag must weigh no more than 50 pounds each. You can't just show up to the airport like, hey, so I know I'm only allowed to have 2 bags, but I have 5. Or I know my bag is supposed to only be 50 pounds, but it's only 10 pounds over. What's the big deal? Well, when you start doing a lot, it's going to cost you a lot. And so in Abraham's case, he was basically saying, hey, God, I know you gave me a certain amount of tickets for this flight, but I'm bringing one more person. Again, the instructions were clear, very straightforward. Leave your country, leave your folks, leave your family, and I'll show you where to go. Wow, I did not do that on purpose. I might low-key be a rapper, for real, for real. Anyways, so here's the thing. Abraham does still end up making it to the promised land that God led him to. But because he insisted on bringing his nephew with him, despite God's instructions, Abraham kept finding himself mixed up in all kinds of shenanigans, all because of his nephew Lot, who wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. He was causing arguments, he's causing division, all these different battles, and Abraham keeps having to come to rescue him. And the whack part is, here is Abraham in his promised land, beautiful, lush pastures, and the man is fighting for his life. He is fighting battles that he never should have had to fight in the first place. And he wouldn't have had to fight them had he just followed instructions from Jump Street. But as I'm saying all that, I'm wondering, because now it's coming to me, I wonder if Abraham brought his nephew Lot with him out of like guilt or obligation. Because basically, Lot's father, Abraham's brother, he died when Lot was really young. And so it doesn't mention anything about his mother, but Lot's grandfather, which is Abraham's father, he ends up, taking Lot in, and then he ends up taking care of him for literally his entire life. And then he passes away. So I wonder if Abraham was like, man, now who will Lot have? Now who will Lot depend on? He doesn't have anyone. Who's going to take care of him if I don't? But because Abraham carried more than God asked him to carry, it ended up slowing him down, and it brought unnecessary trouble, right? But how many times do you do the same thing? God tells you to let go of that relationship, but you pack it up anyway. He tells you to trust him with your future, but you keep stuffing fear and anxiety and backup plans into your bag. You convince yourself that it's just a little extra weight. But later, and typically when it's too late, that's when you begin to realize that it's costing you everything. It's costing you way too much. physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, relationally, spiritually. And oftentimes it delays your purpose and distracts you from your calling. So in this context that we're talking about today, a carry-on simply means obedience. It means trusting that when God says leave it behind, he knows why you need to leave it behind. It's trusting that God will provide what you need when you need it. It's trusting that the essentials are enough. It's believing that less is enough when God is the one that's guiding your journey. So all I'm saying is you have to refuse to drag anything or anyone that God has not given a boarding pass to when it comes to your future. And I know that that sounds harsh, but just allow it to sink in for just a moment. Because basically, all I'm saying is that Abraham's story should remind us that carrying extra weight only causes conflict and more stress and even more delays. And if you keep reading, what you'll run into is that when Abraham and Lot finally parted ways, Abraham's blessings began to flow freely, and he was finally able to rest. And that's exactly what Jesus invites us to do this time in Matthew 11. He says, come to me, all who are burdened and all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I want you to notice that not only just here in Matthew, but even in Genesis, we see this same promise, which is, I will. That means that it's a guarantee. Jesus is saying, I guarantee that you will have rest if you give me your burdens. You will have peace. You will have joy because I will give that to you. And I just feel like this is something that we can bet our everything on. You were designed to carry every person, every problem, and every pressure on your shoulders. And Jesus is saying, let me lighten your load. Let me be your carry-on. Because when you travel light with him, you'll have the strength and the freedom to actually enjoy and be present for the journey. And don't you want that? Don't you want to run your race with endurance and actually enjoy the journey instead of being dragged through it? I mean, I know I do. I don't want to be dragged by life. I actually want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy this journey that I'm on, and I want to be present for it. I don't want to keep learning lessons in hindsight. I want to be present in the now. I want to be able to operate and hear God in the now. I want to be able to show up as my true and authentic self, no matter what arena I'm stepping in. Does all that make sense? So let's jump into some baggage claim for this week. I want you to make a list. I want you to make two lists. One list, I want you to list at least 3 things. There might be more, but no. Actually, for this one, I want you to be very intentional with this one. So I want you to list 5 things that you must carry into this next season. These are the most absolute essentials. And then on the second list, I want you to list at least 3 things that you know you've been dragging around that you need to leave behind. And then your assignment for this week is simply to practice living lighter. So maybe that means learning how to say no to something or someone that isn't aligned with your purpose. Maybe it means releasing guilt from a past mistake. Maybe it's simplifying your schedule or decluttering space in your home or in your room so that you can literally breathe lighter. All right? And then here's the challenge. Should you accept it? I want you to post these lists somewhere visible, hang them up somewhere where you'll always see it, on your mirror or your fridge. Maybe you can make it the background on your phone. When I was going through it, I taped my list to my dashboard in my car so that it could be a reminder of how I had decided how I was going to start showing up for myself moving forward. So I want you to put these lists somewhere so that you can be reminded every day of how you're choosing to move forward in this next season of your life. All right. Traveling light, traveling with just a carry-on, like, this is not about deprivation. It's about freedom. Freedom to move freely and quickly, to go where God is sending you, and to step into the next season without being weighed down and overwhelmed by baggage that was never meant to board your flight in the first place. Does that all make sense? I hope so. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. Next time on Hey Girl, Nice to Meet You, we'll be talking about boarding calls and what it looks like to finally step boldly into your purpose when it's finally time to fly. If today's episode resonated with you in any kind of way, please share it with a friend and then tell that friend to tell a friend. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please drop a quick review or rating, because this helps to get the message out to reach more women who are ready to flourish. And like I always say, they may not even know that they're ready to flourish until they hear this. Again, I'll have new episodes up every Tuesday, so be sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so that you don't miss an episode. Also, make sure that you're following me on socials at Shaquan Show. Again, I'm super easy to find because I want to keep this conversation going during the week. I'd love to hear from you, and you never know. Your words might just be the key that unlocks freedom for someone else. Until then, in the meantime and in between time, I can't wait for you to keep meeting you. And now that you've entered into the Shaquan Show, you have no choice but to grow. Peace. Shaquan Show.